comrades, friends, brothers, sisters, non-binary folks, we are in a moment of historical importance. We are seeing major revolts, rebellions, and uprisings from coast to coast in every major city, day and night, multiple days. What we're living through right now is truly a world historical moment. We are living it and we are creating it. There are rebellions around the country. People are being injured, killed. Police violence has exploded. Video after video of the police brutalizing people, beating women, shooting people, hitting people with rubber bullets, devastating people, undercover cops jumping on people. The police are off the leash now. Here in Omaha, a 22-year-old black protester last night by the name of James Scurlock, and I'll put the GoFundMe in the episode show notes if you want to help the family out. 22-year-old James Scurlock shot and killed by a white supremacist business owner in downtown Omaha by the name of Jake Gardner, who owns The Hive. It's a downtown club in Omaha. He apparently lots of comrades on the grounds last night reporting back, and apparently Jake Gardner, the business owner, had spent the day ostensibly protecting his business, but screaming the N-word at protesters, calling people N-word lovers that went by in protest, and it all culminated late last night when he came out wielding a gun and threatening protesters. A protester, the video footage is kind of grainy and hard to see amid the chaos, but it seems like Jake Gardner did something like pull a gun, reveal a gun, was escalating a confrontation with one protester who must have been a friend or comrade of the person, of James, who went sort of behind Jake Gardner to tackle him, try to disarm him, try to prevent the murder of a fellow protester. And in that scuffle, Jake shot 22-year-old James Scurlock in the neck and ultimately killed him. The police took Jake Gardner into custody, pressed no charges, and let the motherfucker go back out into the streets, where he immediately began mocking the incident on his Facebook feed. Jake Gardner, the owner of The Hive, has a long history here in Omaha of being a racist, transphobic piece of garbage, reactionary shit, imposed racist dress codes for his club, and has come out and posted inflammatory, reactionary bullshit on social media in the Omaha area for many years now. It looks like James Scurlock is not going to have any justice. The police, the fascist vigilantes, the small business owners, big corporate owners, whoever's inflicting violence on the protesters is on the side of the cops. Vigilante violence is bursting out all across this country. At protest after protest, people will come up, shoot out of their window. A protester, I forget in what city, because goddamn, it's hard to keep these fucking cities in your head all at once and what's happening where. But somewhere, vigilante went down, shot, I think, a 19-year-old protester in a city last night here in Omaha, and I'm sure there's many more incidences of either vigilante violence or murder happening around the country that I haven't personally heard of or haven't come out yet or going to happen tonight. So you see the state moving into a fascist formation. You see the far right coming out to commit acts of terrorism and vigilante violence against protesters, peaceful or not. Obviously, black folks are the ones that are most targeted by either vigilante violence or state violence. And so we see black people disproportionately not only leading these rebellions, but suffering for them, being shot for them, being put down because they're on the front lines of them. This system has failed black people. It's failed young people. We're living through a fucking pandemic where the fucking government refused to give people food, mortgage and rent relief, basic necessities, PPE, things to protect people. We have over 100,000 dead fucking Americans. Great unemployment rates higher than the Great Depression. 1/4 of all Americans are out of work with a $1,200 fucking pittance from the government, and they're still putting all the funding and money into the violence of the white supremacist state. They still have plenty of money to brutalize people in the streets, to murder black people in the streets, to kneel on George's neck for minute after minute after minute as he pled for his fucking life. And so while some of us are getting kicked out of our homes, can't buy fucking food, the money in the society that the workers create, that black people built from the ground fucking up, is going into the pockets of these militarized police departments and into the pockets of the ultra-rich ruling class elites. The liberals are trying to diffuse this and showing their reactionary character. They are saying that this is the cause of outside agitators trying to erase the participation of black people, trying to submerge the legitimate black rage going on in this country and divide us along racial lines. So it's white infiltrators doing it, black people aren't doing it, trying to demoralize, split the movement. The reactionary right masks off. They're coming out guns blazing, literally. The police, I repeat myself when I say white supremacists, but the police department are brutalizing people across this entire nation. People have had enough. Young people in this country, imagine. I mean, we're young. I'm in my 30s. A lot of you are millennials, but even younger than that. Looking at our futures, this is the second economic recession, depression, crisis, collapse that we've had to deal with. We have no future. We have no financial future. We have no social future. We have no way to climb up the fucking rotten ladder of this bullshit society. Black people are being brutalized, forced into poverty, facing yet another economic depression which disproportionately hits them, a health crisis which disproportionately hits them. And then on top of that, the police are out here murdering black people. So this society is fed up. Of course it's being set fire to. This is centuries and centuries of brutal imperial domination and murder and cruelty and white supremacy finally coming back to roost. This is what we've known was going to happen for a very, very long time. Multiple crises points for capitalism. Multiple crises points for American imperialism and colonialism. Happening all at once, overlapping one another, and of course, this is the result. It goes without saying that we stand in unconditional, unapologetic solidarity with every protester, every person out there on the front lines fighting back against this criminal, white supremacist, imperialist fucking empire in decay. Lenin said, fascism is capitalism in decay. Capitalism is decaying all around us. The state is turning right now towards fascism. This crisis has exacerbated every single contradiction in our society, bringing them all out to the light at once in an unprecedented sort of combination of structural weaknesses and utter depravities of this system, all hitting us at once. People are not going to stop. There is no going back to the normal. There is no voting our way out of this. The liberal ruling class begging us to vote, to come back to the table, go back to the ballot box. They are our enemies just as much as the reactionaries are. With all of that said, it is important, and I'll say it again throughout this conversation, protect black people. Organizations, individuals, protesters, whatever you are, whatever you're doing, protect, fund, defend black people. They are the primary targets, the first targets, the last targets of any uprising, of any crisis. The police are already in their neighborhoods, slaughtering them and murdering them before this uprising, and slaughtering, beating, and murdering them during this uprising, jailing them, putting them in cages. If you're really about this shit, it's an absolute necessity that by any means necessary, our black brothers and sisters and non-binary comrades are protected by all means. We cannot let this rebellion result in more and more slaughter of people of color, specifically black and indigenous people, and white people do nothing about it. This system is blowing up before our eyes. We are living in an unprecedented moment in not only American history, but world history. And just today, Donald fucking Trump has declared Antifa to be a terrorist organization. Now, you and I know Antifa isn't an organization. Antifa is not a group. It doesn't have leaders. It doesn't have representatives. It doesn't have doctrines. It doesn't have coordinated committees. It is a tactic. It's an approach. It simply means fighting back against far right-wing violence and terrorism and fascism by any means necessary. That sometimes looks like taking to the streets, but often it's about uncovering information, protecting your community, building community defense formations to protect the innocent people from right-wing terrorism. Now that is being deemed as terrorism. So what is a state that declares anti-fascists to be terrorists? That's a fascist state. What is a capitalist ruling class state in crisis like never before going to turn to protect its hierarchical class and racial structures? Fascism. And what does fascism in America look like? Police and riot cops. No accountability. Nobody policing the police. No oversight. Slaughtering, beating, murdering, arresting, torturing people in the fucking streets. Full-grown men, full body armor, weaponry, endless backup, beating women in the streets. Black women in the streets.
When is enough going to be enough? Well, we're seeing it. Enough is enough. And millions of people around this country are saying, enough is enough. We'll burn this fucking place down before we take any more of this bullshit. Before black people continue to be fucking killed and we protest for a day and go home. While the richest people in this country loot our entire fucking society during a health crisis and people are left to fend for themselves with $1,200 measly if you're lucky enough to get that. And no job, no opportunities, no protection. Nobody gives a fuck about you. Enough is enough. And people are finally rising the fuck up. But we must be careful. We must think through the implications of what's happening. This is a doorway for widespread crackdowns. Declaring Antifa terrorists, which we know, as I said, is not a group, it's not an organization. It's defining the fight against fascism and racism to be terrorism. It's codifying into law that if you're not with this white supremacist imperialist state and this bloody fucking children of empire out in the streets vigilante murdering people, then you're the enemy. And we'll bring the full force of the American police department and the American military down on anybody we deem to be terrorists. And you're all terrorists now. If you're listening to this right now, unless you're a cop or a fucking Nazi, you're an enemy. You are now illegal. You are now a terrorist. And we saw what happens when they declare Muslims terrorists. They can do anything they want. Drone bomb weddings, blow up fucking schools, murder American citizens, set people up, no rights to a trial by your peers, no constitutional rights whatsoever. You're dead because you're a terrorist. Well, now we're all terrorists. How the fuck you think they're going to treat us? They do not, and they cannot, the right wing in this country, whether institutional or vigilante or whatever, the right in this country cannot and will not discern between us. This is important. This is why we need popular fronts. They will not discern between a liberal and a communist, a progressive and an anarchist, somebody who disagrees with Trump and Antifa, a black person or a black revolutionary. It's open season on everybody. And the only formation that is possible in that scenario is a popular front coming together, setting aside the petty sectarian differences we may have to have each other's back in this moment of crisis and collapse. And uprising and revolution. This is not a riot. This is not looting. This is a world historical rebellion. This is a revolt. This is oppressed people saying enough is enough. Fuck a riot. Fuck a protest. This is a revolution. And I don't know how this is going to go. I don't know where this is going to go. None of us do. But this is unprecedented. We've never seen anything like this in our lives, and it's not going away. There's no return to normal after this. Whatever the change comes out of this, bad, good, and ugly, it's going to be change. More than every vote cast, more than every political campaign run combined in American history, this is how change is made. And there will be opportunists, there will be snakes in the grass, there will be fucking cowards, people who talk the big game when everything is calm, all of a sudden can't be found or heard from when shit hits the fan. White celebrities that have profited off of black culture for decades, made millions, live in mansions, can't come out and say so much a word in support of these black-led revolutionary uprisings from corner to corner in this country. Celebrities, black, white, brown, anything, hiding in their mansions, clutching their money, talking about we need peace. These are outside agitators. Outside of what? Every major city in America is on fire. What's outside? It is just America. It can't come from the outside. It is Americans, people, oppressed people, colonized people, standing the fuck up. There's no outside agitation. But the liberals, the conservatives, the ruling class in this country, we've seen both of them spiral into conspiracy theories over the last several years. The right, obviously more intensely than the liberal left, but the liberal center left is now talking about outside agitators, Russiagate. They can't comprehend this system. They can't comprehend this moment. They have no explanatory or comprehensive power to understand and articulate and theorize and think through this moment. So they're both going to conspiracy theories. That makes them dangerous. You need to take your safety seriously. Whether you're on the front lines, whether you're donating to organizations, whether you're pushing for your own social sphere or social media account, pushing in defense of these rebellions, take your safety seriously. If you're a person of color, please take your safety seriously. Pictures on your social media will be weaponized against you. Lock your accounts. Scrub your accounts. If you're going to use an account to be political or to identify yourself, you better scrub it of all possible activity. If they're declaring us all to be terrorists, that opens up the floodgates for what they can do. There is no more constitutional rights for anybody. You think the Fourth Amendment, the Fifth Amendment, any of these First Amendment, any of these amendments going to protect you now? No, we're terrorists. Take your safety seriously. When you're out in the streets, operate in infinity groups. When you're out in the streets, especially if you're not black, you better think twice about your actions and what that backlash is going to be. I'm not saying don't be radical. I'm not saying don't be revolutionary, but think through the implications of your behavior and make sure that your black comrades are not being put at unnecessary risk, because they are at existential risk by being black in this society in a good time, let alone in a society engulfed in flames, collapsing. But this is the only way through. We've tried everything else. I mean, black people specifically, but people who want to change in this society more broadly. We've protested, we've marched, we've voted. You know, a lot of us were saying, fuck electoralism, but goddamn, if you can at least get Bernie in so my mom can get health care, I'll be happy with that. Can we at least have that? No, you scum, you fucking peasants. You can't even have tepid social democracy. Joe Biden is our candidate. Vote for him or you're privileged. And they wonder why we're burning down the fucking country. One thing that comes out of this. The revolution, if it happens in this country, and it's not mere reformism, but a real, thoroughgoing, roots-destroying revolution, if that is to take place in this fucking country, it's going to be led by black people. It's going to be led by indigenous people. There is no white Lenin. There is no white chauvinism that's going to take center stage at this moment. We've seen what white socialist organizations give us. They give us a Bernie Sanders campaign. Fuck you. What do black revolutionaries give us? Real rebellion. Standing up for what the fuck is right. Not allowing these pigs in this murderous fucking empire to keep their fucking knees on their throats any longer. That is revolution. Not some motherfucking social democracy, Democratic Party bullshit. Jack had been telling us to vote for Biden. Now shut the fuck up. It's way beyond the point of voting. Way beyond the point of politicians. This is a motherfucking uprising. If you're not with it, then get the fuck out of the way. In Occupy, what do? Oh, we marched. We set up tents. We sat in kumbaya circles and sang beautiful songs and snapped our fingers. And what did the cops do? They came in and destroyed Occupy. Fucked people up, pushed them out. Oh, but that's okay because Occupy, well, it gave rise to a national conversation about class and that's important, right? No. What we need now is not a change in the discourse. The things that black people and people broadly are demanding is not a conversational shift. We demand material reparations for black people. We demand the dismantling of the police state and of police departments, the defunding of police departments around the country. We demand control over our own communities and our own lives. And that's just the beginning. That's the tip of the iceberg. We demand the fucking world. We're not going to be content with your scraps off the ruling class table. We're not going to be content with your bourgeois fucking politicians. Okay? We're not going to be content with your little DSA meetings and book clubs. No hating on the DSA. If you're a part of the DSA and you're out there doing your shit, good for you. I'm just talking about a certain segment of the white chauvinist American left in this society who have failed the black people, colonized people, the proletariat around the world, and who still to this day are asking us to make friends with the system that is brutalizing black people and colonized people at home and abroad. We need black-led organizations. And white people, we need to fight shoulder by shoulder with black people. There's no excuse to stay home, to stay out of this shit. And I understand this. Some people are a liability on the front line. Some people don't have the skill set for whatever reasons or the capacity for legitimate reasons to be on the front lines. And I'm not asking for everybody to be on the front lines. People have different skill sets. But you need to be donating to bail funds. You need to be doing some material thing to help out the people who are on the front lines. You got to be agitating within your social network, your friends, social media, your family, uncompromising. Pushing back on every narrative that is against these protests. Explaining that, looting? I had somebody today on my wife's Facebook, some white dude, talking about, I got my gun, and he's not even a reactionary. He's an apolitical fucking doofus. I got my gun. Anybody tries to loot my house, I'm going to protect my... Nobody's looting your dumbass fucking house. They're looting corporations. They're looting corporations, and as a white American, you talk about looting? Look down at your feet right now. What are you standing on? No, seriously, look down at your feet physically. Look down. What's below your feet? Is that looted land? Look at the fucking White House right now. Who built that? Was that African people who were looted? Free labor looted? This country is built on looting. The American empire, your relative comfort in the global system, especially if you're white. Where does that come from? From looting the rest of the world, from looting the global south, from dominating, colonizing, and slaughtering people around the globe. This fucking country is built on looting. And now the bloody children of empire, the white bloody children of empire, want to talk about their moral stance against looting and nonviolence. The fuck you think you live in? What country you think you're at? Look out your window, you see an American flag? Talk about nonviolence and looting. You're an American! Everything you have is premised on it. Push back against these motherfuckers. And I'm saying, I know everybody don't have money and can't donate. Everybody can't be on the front lines. I get it. But there is something you can do. To be silent in this moment is cowardice. People say, I wonder what I would have done in the 60s when MLK was marching. Oh, I would have been there. I swear to God, I would have been there locking arms and marching and for black rights. What are you doing right now? What you're doing right now is what you would have done at the height of the civil rights movement. And if you're squirreled away in a corner of your house, not saying shit, not donating materially to the people on the front lines, not joining in the protest, not organizing your community, not helping people who are being brutalized, you're worse than useless. You're a hindrance. You've sided with the oppressor. You've sided with the bloody empire. We need black-led organizations to move beyond Occupy's failing. We need real material demands in exchange for us doing whatever they fucking want us to do. And those demands need to be backed up with force. We demand the world, and if you don't give it to us, we're burning shit down. Reparations now. Dismantle the police departments around this country now. Characterize right-wing white supremacists as terrorists now. And do something about it. Anything less is bullshit. Oh, we're going to arrest this cop, maybe one of them. They arrested him to protect him, not to punish him. They wanted to protect him from us. They got him in his... What happens if he goes to prison? You think he's going to be in general population? He'll be taken care of. His commissary will be full, and the pigs inside the fucking cages, inside the prison complexes, will protect them with their lives. It's not enough. Justice isn't arresting one cop. Justice wouldn't even be getting all four of those cops, putting them through a trial by their peers, and coming to the conclusion that they all did first-degree murder and have the death penalty. That still wouldn't be justice. It reifies the justice system and displaces the actual needs of the black community onto four cops or one cop and says, okay, we done it. They're in jail now. They got charged. Okay, now stop. Go home now. The fuck up. Another important thing to remember, and I'm sorry I'm worked up, guys. I'm sorry, man. My heart's broken. I haven't slept in 40 hours. I got some sleep last night, but there was 40 hours when this shit went down. I couldn't go to sleep. My mind and body couldn't stop. I watch that video, I cry every day. And I'm sorry if I'm mad, if I'm angry, if I'm not as composed as I usually am. But enough is enough. Something has to give. Something has to break. Something has to burn for these motherfuckers to finally say, okay. There will continue to be contradictions within this movement. There are footages, fucking pictures, videos of black organizers desperately appealing to young white people to stop doing this or that. There are agent provocateurs in our midst. There are white supremacists who believe in a boogaloo, a second civil war, a race war. This goes back to all fascist mythology in America. It goes back to, you can even see it in Charles Manson. Every right-wing terrorist attack in this country has been premised on some level on the point of having a second civil war rooted fundamentally in race, whites versus blacks. So they're going to be in the midst. They're going to be pushing this thing further. Cops are going to be infiltrating to find out who's organizing and attack them. Look what happened to the Ferguson protester. This is bigger than Ferguson. Look what happened to the Ferguson protesters after it stopped being in the media. So, of course, there are elements, and somebody called it what? White chaos tourists, right? We see people latch on opportunistically to this black-led revolution, this black-led uprising. It's not a revolution yet, but it's the grounding, it's the ground making of it. We see these white chaos tourists coming in just because they don't stand in solidarity with black people. They don't stand in solidarity for indigenous and colonized people around this world or this country. They're out there for their own reasons, and that's not the majority of them. Most of the white people out in the streets are well-intentioned, doing their best to stand shoulder to shoulder with people of color, with indigenous people, with black people specifically, in this fight for liberation and emancipation, knowing full well there is no freedom for anybody unless there's freedom for everybody. But that said, uprisings are messy. They open a bunch of doorways and rat holes for rats to climb through, whether pig rats, fascist rats, or white chauvinist, adventurist rats. But that does not mean that this is not a fundamentally black-led revolt. This does not mean that the burning downs of cities is from simply white outsiders. This is a black movement. This is black rage. We saw it over the entire history of America. When MLK was assassinated, from Omaha, right where I sit, to every other city in this country, riots, lootings, burning down happened. It is a desperate attempt by oppressed people to say enough is enough. We don't have the power. We don't have the money. We don't have the guns. All we have is our fucking numbers and our refusal to bow the fuck down and go home again. We've gone home to... How many protests have you been to? I've been to so many I can't count. For a bunch of different reasons. And what happens afterwards? You go home. You feel kind of good, but you know nothing's going to change. And then they say vote. Vote for Bernie. Vote for Biden. Vote for the Dems. This time we're serious. This time we'll seriously help you. People aren't going home anymore, man. People aren't going home. We're not voting. We're not playing the game anymore. Black people have played this game for as long as black people have been on this continent. When's enough's enough? How many innocent black people, indigenous people, can be put down like fucking animals in the street without people of good character? Without decent fucking people standing up and saying, no more. No more of this shit. Nobody is free until we're all fucking free. Now this shit is advancing. This shit is in a constant state of evolution. So what I say in this moment is my best attempt to anchor us in a fleeting moment of time, knowing full well that things are developing as I speak. And it's developing as we all speak. I know that. So I'm putting this out there. I'm pumping it out as soon as possible. The minute after I hit done recording, I'm not editing this. I'm throwing it up. Get it out there. Try to help some people think through this moment. Try to connect with the rage and despair and distraughtness and heartbrokenness going on in this country. Trying to get something out there for people to anchor themselves to. And know this, the world is watching. The world is watching. America isn't just for America. If America falls, if this fucking fascist, imperialist death machine somehow falls, either now or in a year or in 10 years, it's going to be the biggest obstacle torn down for proletarian and decolonial movements the globe over. Taking America down is not only liberating the people here in the U.S., but it's getting the boot off the neck of Venezuelans, of Bolivians, of Haitians, of people in Southeast Asia, of Filipinos, of Iraqis, of Guatemala, of every single people who have been oppressed and are continuing to be oppressed by not only direct imperial violence, but the global capitalist extractive, exploitative, plundering mechanism that goes on the world over, whether violence is standing side by side with it or if it's just hidden right below the surface. That means that this is not just an American fight. This is a global fight. This is a proletarian internationalist fight. Our duty, living in the belly of the beast, is to take down the greatest obstacle to human emancipation in this fucking planet right now, which is the American imperial regime. That is our duty, not only to one another, but to our brothers and sisters and non-binary comrades the world over. It is our duty to the future, to my children and your children and their children. We must rise to the level of our times. We must rise to the occasion. This is not our children's fight to fight. This is our fight. This is our generation's duty to change this rotten fucking society. To change it for real. Not reform its edges. Not blunt its sharpest knives in the backs of black people, indigenous people, colonized people, poor people. But to overturn this rotten fucking system that has lived way too long and caused way too much devastation and heartbreak and violence and bloodshed the world over, and right now as we speak. American weapons and bombs are being dropped on people's heads and shot into people's chests, on our shores and abroad. Enough is enough. That's my shit for right now. I'm going to do more on this. Allison's going to join me soon. We'll have another episode like this. But I felt I needed to come to this mic, and I need to put this shit out there for better or worse. I needed to tell people what's going on. I need to beg people to be safe, to protect one another, to have one another's back. We need a popular front. We're seeing the government move towards fascism. We're seeing vigilante violence. Arm yourself. Defend yourself. Train with weaponry. You know, you don't need to have $5,000 body armor. You don't need to know the jargon of gun nerds. You know, you just need to know how to handle weapons safely and how to use them against anybody that's going to hurt you, your family, or innocent people. We have a right to self-defense. I'm going to link to bail funds in the show notes here. Things are happening so fast, I won't get all the bail funds, of course. I'll do as best I can. I'll link to the GoFundMe for 22-year-old James Scurlock, who was killed here in Omaha last night. If you can't join the front lines, please know that material support is the best thing you can do. Giving the funds necessary for first aid equipment, for taking care of people, for street medics, for the organizations bailing people out of jail so they don't have to sit there and rot. Poor people go to jail, you don't have bail? Well, you're sitting there till your trial. Put your fucking money in bail funds. Now. And next month on Patreon, the Patreon income that this show makes, we're giving hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars to on-the-ground organizations and to bail funds. Last month, we gave over $500 to on-the-ground organizations serving the people before this shit even popped off. And we're going to continue to do that. Because this isn't a mechanism for my fucking career. I could give a fuck less about money or fame or a career. I don't give a fuck if this podcast disappeared overnight. If it outlives its usefulness, I'll shut it down. But insofar as I can use this platform to help other people, to funnel funds to where they need to go, to give material support to the people, serving the people, protecting the people, I'm going to continue to do that. And thank you to everybody who supports this organization, that supports this platform, and that is supporting these bail funds and these organizations on the ground. You got to do it. You got to do it. This is history. We are living through it. We are making it. You can't sit on the sidelines. You can't sit on the sidelines anymore. That's cowardly. You can't recoil into your personal life. That's cowardly. You can't flip-flop. Who's in charge? Oh, I don't like the looting, but I like this. And, well, we want this sort of protest, but shut the fuck up. Stand up. Or we'll remember you as a coward. History will remember you as a coward. We're all keeping eyes on who really about it and who just talks about it until push comes to shove. And all of a sudden, you can't be found. Can't be heard from. Rappers showing their true colors out here. Celebrities showing their true colors out here. Activists showing their true colors out here. White chauvinists showing their true colors out here. Well, what's your true color? What are you really about? Be about it. I love you all. From the bottom of my heart, I love you. I want more than anything for you to be safe, for you to be protected, for you to be cared for. If you're listening to my voice right now and you're not a fucking cop or Nazi, I love you. I love your children. I love your family. I love your future. And I will lay down my life for my babies and your babies. And I put that on my soul. Stay safe out there. Solidarity.